Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Talk SAP. And this is a Talk with Expert series where I talk with wonderful minds who have been working with in SAP domain for a quite long time. So today we are going to talk about BOBI, BODS, what it is and what the solution is, how it works and everything around it in for BOBI and BODS. And for that we have Arun with us. So can we have a small intro of you, Arun?
Sure. Thank you, Ashish, so much, and thank you for this opportunity. As Ashish said, my name is Arun. I've been part of SAP world for more than 14 years now. I started my career with SAP BOBI as an admin, and I was pretty much doing SAP BO for almost 10 years of my life. And after that, I moved on to a leadership role, and then I started picking up teams, and now I manage a SAP delivery for a multinational client at an MNC. So that's a little bit about me. I belong to Kerala, but I grew up in Kashmir, and I studied in Pune, and now I'm working in Bangalore.
Like, that's such a vast experience and also a diverse one.
Correct.
So let's talk about BOBI and BODS. What are these solutions and what they actually do? Like as a solution, what their use of it?
Sure. So there are two things, as you just rightly said, BOBI as well as BODS. So these are two different product suites. Let's first talk about BI or BOBI, as you say. Now, BO or BI is a self-service tool. When I say self-service tool, earlier when we started working, if a person needed data, he had to go to an IT consultant, request that I need this data, I need this report, I need that from here. This should be the format and everything. And there was always an IT person who was required for giving that information. And that is when the whole evolution came in between, where people started building a solution which should be a self-service solution where nobody needs to train no one. Any end user can just go look into the tool and fetch the data he wants or she wants. And that is how the BI solutioning started happening. And SAP BOBI is a self-service tool, which means that the end user does not need any formal training. He does not require anything special to understand how it is. A very basic bare minimum training is enough for using that tool from the end user perspective. And it is a visualization tool, it's a reporting tool, it's an end user tool. That is the space for BOBI. Now, when I talk about BODS, that's a different tool set altogether. It is uh, you know, uh, it is a ETL solution. Okay, so BODS is Bio Data Services. It is used by functional people. It is used by people who want to run, any ETL query. They want to extract, transform, and load the data. They want to run a business process and understand how the data move from, let's say, the source to a data warehouse, and then some cleansing happens, and then it goes to the next level. So these two tools are different. One is a completely end user tool which can be accessed by anybody, and one is a very, very powerful ETL tool which is used by a lot of companies to process their data. So that's the first distinction which we need to know, that these two tools are different. Maybe the architecture is same, the service on which we build on it is same, but their solutioning, the way they are designed, is very, very different. Now, the reason that SAP BOBI became very strong in the market from the day one was because of its usability, and because of it is the way the UI was designed. It just needed a drag and drop for anybody to just get the data what they want, right? So it was very, very user friendly. It was very secure. It was very, very manageable for people to use, and it was a thin client tool also. That means you don't need to even install anything on your machine. You can browse it as you browse anything else in your machine. Like if you want to go to Amazon.com, you want to go to any other website, you can just browse it in the same way. And the features which it had was very good with respect to the charts it makes, the way it shows the data, and the processing power which it had. And that is the reason it became, I think, the number one tool for a very, very long time.
So is there this similarity also? It's completely different to like one is for ETL and other is one is for like just reporting. Like what BOBI is only for reporting, right?
Correct, correct, correct. So there's two different things. Okay, this is for reporting, and this is for ETL stuff. BODS can feed in data to BO, and
Mhm.
BO can get the data from BODS, but they are two separate entities.
Okay.
They are used for two different reasons.
Yeah. So basically, BODS lies only for the technical people, while BI is for
Correct.
functional people, like those
Correct.
who have these accurate data, how the market is going on, and like every trend they watch video.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. I was also not aware of these things, so yeah.
Yeah. No problem.
So, okay, when we talk about admin role,
Okay.
what it is and how the day-to-day life goes on? Like, what is from like starters, like who just joined, and for the experienced people
Okay.
looking for that.
People who just join and they pick up the BU admin role and they start looking at the way things are coming, it might be a little overwhelming at the start because everything is urgent.
Hmm.
If a user is unable to log into the system, it is a priority one situation for them. Maybe it is just one user,
Yeah.
but the way it is portrayed is that the entire system is down.
Yeah.
So for a beginner who's just starting his career in being a BO admin and looking at the way users react, it is a little overwhelming until he gets to a point where the wisdom kicks in
Yeah.
and he understands that it is just an issue with the user and there is a way to handle it. So a typical BO admin who's already a senior person who have been working on this tool and has been managing customers for a very long time, there's a systematic way he can look into the things which are coming in. So a person who's already working, it's very easy for him to handle. The person who's new, it will be an overwhelming experience because the end user can be anywhere in the world
Yeah.
and he can be in any mood. So sometimes you do not know how to respond to people when they start asking questions.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something wrong with his laptop.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't have the right access. Maybe he's looking at a wrong query, but he feels the system is down.
Yeah.
It
Exactly.
takes a little bit of experience and understanding of the system to know exactly what happened. And that is the biggest difference between the person who's starting and the person who is there. However, as I said, a typical day will start for a BU admin with checking the system. That is a system health check. That's something which he has to do always. So there are some automation solutions for that. There's manually which you can do it. But as soon as you come in and as soon as you log into the system, the first question as an admin you need to ask is whether my system is up, whether all my services are up, all my services which are running are in a healthy state, and are there any errors which I need to be worried about. So there are different tools which different people use. Some people like to do it manually, some people like to set up some alerts, some people put some monitoring solutions, some people have written some SDKs to get that out. They look at output of that every 2 hours, 3 hours. But that's the number one priority to see how is my system behaving and is there any slowness, is there any lag, is there any issue in the system. Whole day that will be running in your mind, whatever other work that you're doing, but entire day your first preference is a BO admin if you're supporting a project to make sure your system is up and running because nobody likes a system which doesn't work. Second thing, when you get into your work, you have to plan for the future. There are a lot of releases which are coming in the market. There are a lot of patches which are coming in the market. There are vulnerabilities which are reported nowadays on almost every month. So you need to have that far sight to see how will you manage if something happens. How will you manage if there's a critical issue which is happening and you need to apply a patch. That means you need to have a plan already in place. You cannot build a plan later. So as an admin, you should be ready for any emergency situation also. Third thing which you always do is interact with your stakeholders on a daily basis, have a daily connect with them, understand how things are going for them, and also do they have any special request or a special thing which they need, or maybe there are 10,000 users which are going to add because of a new project which is going live. So you need to forecast whether your system will allow that much load. So you have to do a sizing also. So these daily connects with your customer and the key stakeholders, project managers will help you. Plus, sometimes you might also have people from different regions. Maybe you are working in India and you have a person who is in UK or US. You need to have a very close contact with that person, a very good sync, such that Whatever he or you are doing on the system, you both are aware of it, and you don't do any change which is a surprise for the next person. So those are the typical things which you look at as an admin on a daily basis. And if you just take care of these few things, you will have a very good, healthy system running.
So yeah, I completely agree with you. Like especially the admin, every time they ask whatever goes wrong, they are just pointed, okay, why my system is not, why I'm
Yeah.
not able to log in. You are the first one to be reached at any risk. No matter what the issue is, you will be reached at first. So
Yep.
my question is like, what role does the communication part play? Like, do you have to, as you are working with multiple customers and those are around the world. So,
Hmm.
do we need to know multiple languages as well, or yeah, or how good we should be in English itself? So, yeah,
I think
how
English,
does yeah,
I understood. Thank you. English is enough.
yeah,
Okay. However, we need to know how to communicate it to the right person at the right time. That's
agree,
all.
agree.
Because I have faced situations where the other person is Spanish and you don't know how to communicate. But sometimes you use Google Translate or use something, and still you are able to understand what that person was to say. Some Chinese customers were there, they didn't know how to speak in English, but still you managed it.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's English. I say if you are good at English, if you can write a good email, if you can express properly, people understand. Most of the times what I have understood, I'm just sharing it, and because it's an informal, platform. Even if you're not 100% sure about the solution, that means maybe technically you don't know everything. But if you just give the confidence to the customer through your communication that you are there and you can manage, that is enough. So the edge which you have is your communication, because everybody is equal technically. What I know is what exactly the other person knows and exactly what the third person knows, because we have followed the same process, we are following the same architecture, we are looking at the same system. The difference between me or any other person or a person who's doing better than me is the communication, nothing else. So if you can communicate well, you can actually, have a good impact at your customers. That is
yeah.
very important.
Yeah, even I agree with that. Like customer doesn't, if something goes wrong, customer doesn't need the exact solution. They are looking for what
Correct.
went wrong. They just want to know what
Correct.
went wrong, and if you are able to justify, okay, this is wrong, and you can come up with a solution, that's good. That's more than good.
True.
So, since we were discussing about planning, about sizing and all,
Mhm.
what amount of experience do you need to get into that zone that you're planning and discussing the sizing and what are the new reports that
So
we need
you
to
need good, good. So you need to understand various different parts which are in the system, right?
yeah.
You have a platform which is maybe Unix or a Windows, right? It has a capacity. Plus, on top of that, you will run your application. That application also, you need to know whether you need a high availability, or whether you need a fault tolerance, or whether you need a cluster, whether you want to run it on a cloud, whether you want to run it on premise. Then you need to know how many users will be there, how many heavy users will be there, how many lightweight users will be there, how many always on the system users will be there. Then you need to know how many documents are going to run, how many reports they're going to build, how many publications they're going to do. So if you're starting your career, I will ask you not to do it, okay? Because you will miss something. But when you, as you progress in your career and as you start looking at the system, as you start spending more time with the architects, you start spending more time with your business user, you start spending more time with other teams, you will start learning what are the things which you need to know before you start looking at the sizing of a system, or as you start looking at the capacity of the system. So it comes with time. Don't jump into it right away.
Okay. And like since every time we talk about bottlenecks, and I believe that whenever you are trying to judge a bottleneck, like what the bottleneck would be and what the issue is, you should know about the architecture. Can you just give like a high level intro that how the architecture works?
Sure, why not? So the BU or BO enterprise or BOBI architecture is a five-tier architecture. It's a very, very simple method, and it is a tier-wise architecture, and every tier is responsible for a certain activity which needs to be done. Okay, so I'll start from the top and then we'll go to the bottom so that we understand how the flow is. So the first tier is called the client tier. Okay, it is nothing, it is what is exposed to the external world. Like you have your app at your phone, in your phone, you have a Google Pay or you have a Amazon app or whatever. It is your entry point to any application. Correct. Same way we have few links or few pages or few apps which can be shown to the end user such that end user can come into the system. Those are called client tools. Your client tool can be a thick client or and your client tool can be a thin client. Okay, both ways are available. Some people just use over the mobile to access, some people are using laptops, some people need some special tools to check or build their reports and everything. So your first point of contact is your first tier, which is called the client tier. Now the second tier after client tier is called the application tier. Okay, this is where your application is hosted. Now because a BO system is a heterogeneous system,
Yeah.
it is not binded by any one certain technology. You can use Apache Tomcat Java, you can use WebSphere, you can use Oracle, you can use anything, WebLogic. So your application layer is also independent. You can choose whichever technology you want because it's up to you how you want to host. However, most of the times I have seen that companies and big enterprises they have chosen the default one, which is Apache Tomcat, which comes with the product itself. Now, after the application tier is the next tier, which is the most important tier, which we call it as the intelligence tier. Now, all the intellectual work, it is like your brain and heart. So there are two things in your body which are very important, your heart and brain. If one stops functioning, you're pretty much a dead meat, correct? So your intelligence tier is like that. It is the heart as well as the brain of the system. It knows who are the right users. It knows what access the user has on which report. It knows which report is stored where. Okay, it manages security, it manages the authentication, authorization, it manages everything. So that is called the intelligence layer, and there are few services there which we call as CMS service, event service, file store service. All these are intelligent pieces in the architecture. Now after this tier we need somebody to work also, right? Where will the request go? So that tier, which is the fourth tier, is called the processing tier. This is where all our workers are. Okay, this is the tier where all the processing of the data happens, the query gets processed, everything happens, all the work has happens here. So we have Webby as a tool. Okay, we have few more tools. So for every tool there is a job server and there is a report server, so both runs together for giving you the report or the request which a end user has asked for. Now, the data has to come from somewhere, right? Now, the last tier, which is after fourth, we call it as the data tier. Okay, again, it is not bound by just one. BO is a heterogeneous system. It can connect to any database. So you can have a OLAP database, where you have your SAP BW and other BI applications. Then you can have a relational database connection, which can be OLADB or anything like that. And you can have any other database. So that's the data tier. So you have your client tier, you have your application tier, you have your intelligence tier, you have your processing tier, and you have your data tier. And all these five tiers put together is the business objects enterprise.
Okay, okay, that was like all in one experience, so short and precise, like you were.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like,
easy to understand.
yeah, exactly. So moving forward, like I would like to talk about the team collaboration part. So
Okay,
point one, like since we have been working remote and for seeing future, I can see that many people will be working remote for like throughout their life.
sure.
How does team collaboration will take part in that? Whose responsibility is to work for team collaboration? Is the only the manager, only the scrum master, like only the members? Who is responsible and what role does each of them play?
Yeah, that's a very nice question. See, we always say it is others' responsibility, correct? That's our nature. That's how we have been, DNA'd. If
Yeah.
something is wrong in the country, it is somebody else's
Yeah.
responsibility. Same you'll see here, where this comes like, okay, this is my responsibility, it's not mine, it is my manager's responsibility. Manager will say it is not my responsibility, it's somebody else's responsibility. But we've been working pretty much for 2 years from home now, and looking at the way things have worked for past 2 years, everybody has taken that responsibility, everybody has stepped up, and everybody has put a step forward to connect with people. Okay, people who were not connected, people who did not know each other in the organization have started connecting because the work needs to happen. So this has become a collaborative responsibility now, and everybody understands that if the work has to happen, it cannot happen without sharing these responsibilities. So that trend which I see for the past 2 years in my organization and wherever my friends are working or other colleagues are working, the collaboration has become better. Everybody understood the importance of connecting with each other. Everybody understood how connection can help them to grow and also make sure that their work is happening on time. So now everybody is responsible and they understand that they cannot put this responsibility on somebody else. Otherwise, they will fall behind, they will not grow.
So just a quick question, like, do you think the remote culture will continue for this, or how it is going to be? Like,
My
what is your
personal, my,
preference? Yeah,
my personal opinion, we need to
yeah.
get back to a hybrid model
Okay.
where we go to office for a day or two,
Okay.
we meet our colleagues,
Yeah.
we at least share few things which we couldn't do online. We can do or finish things faster, meet with our leadership team, meet with our new people who are joining in, and 3 days we can work from home. Because for past 2 years we have proved that our productivity can be either at par or better than what it was when we were going to office. So getting into a hybrid model would be my preference. I would like to go to office for a day or two, meet my team, meet my seniors, meet my colleagues, meet my other friends who are there, spend some good time with them, share my knowledge, gain some knowledge, and then rest 3 days I would love to work from home as I'm doing right now. That would be my preference.
So, so this makes sense. Like, even team collaboration will work more when we are working in a hybrid kind of model
Correct.
compared to remote.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, since we have a like large year of experience gap, there's some question that pops into my mind always. I'm talking to some senior.
All right.
Yeah. So,
Hope
you
you're not asking about salary. Rest
no, no,
assured.
not about that. So, yeah. So, what are the changes that you have, experienced in yourself when you have been growing from just a member to now you're leading
Sure.
a module? Yeah.
I think when I started my career at the bottom level, that was the fresher level, I think I was a little scared, to be very honest, because I did not come from a background where I grew up with people around me who were working in corporate. Come with a because my dad was in defense, so I come up with a family where everybody was in defense, and we had a certain way of looking at things, and corporate culture was something which I had never experienced. But when I started working, I think initially I was a little afraid to express myself, to express my feelings, to express what I think is right or wrong, because maybe I thought people might take it in a wrong way, right? And that actually stopped my growth for a while because later on I realized that I could have been more clear about my feelings, about my thought process, about how I want to work, how I want to grow in my career. So first year was a little tough. I felt a little left out also because I did not understand much. I went through a formal training of SAP BO and I did not get anything. And it took some time for me to understand everything, to understand how corporate works. So I was a guy who was very shy. I was a guy who couldn't, collaborate with people initially. I was not a social person, but with time, when I saw that how important it is for us to collaborate, how important it is for us to socialize, how important it is to for us to communicate with each other and also share your ideas. It doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong. Sometimes you might just get it, Sometimes you might be the dumbest person who's giving a dumb idea, but that's all right. There's no wrong question. Every question is right, is what I feel. So I started expressing more. I started sharing more. Also, I started spending time with people who are better than me. All right. That was one thing which was very important, that I started spending time with people who were SMEs, who knew a lot about the system, who knew a lot about the technology, and informal time. Formal, they might feel that I'm trying to, cling on them and trying to, get on top of their head and start learning. So I started spending informal time on coffees, breaks, and lunch breaks and dinner breaks. And I started picking up things from them with respect to what issues they were facing, how they were managing. And then I started catching up with them on technical side. But then slowly, when we start moving ahead in your life, you have to either choose being an architect as a path, or you can become a delivery operational management side. So I always wanted to learn more. I learned SAP, BOBI. I was working there for almost 8 years, 9 years, whatever. But I thought if I just stay with that and I just grow in that line as a technical architect, I might stay as the frog in the well. So I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know more about SAP. I wanted to know what other things are there which SAP offers. So I moved into a lead role. I moved into a separate role which I knew nothing about, and I started learning that also. Then this cloud migration thing started happening, and I started picking up what is this AWS cloud, what is this Azure cloud, how does it work, things like that. And that is because I always had that curiosity to learn. It made sense for me to move further and move further and keep enjoying what I'm doing.
Like, yeah, I know you are continuously, improving. I just saw you stepping into cloud as well. So yeah, the certification exams and all. So, uh, apart from that, what do you think are the magic moments kind of thing? Do you believe in magic moments? Okay, if this would have not been happened, if my life, I would have done something different or something like that. Okay, if this would have been different, I would have been doing something else. This went great. This was in my luck, or this was in my favor at that point of time.
I think the magic moment was from the day one when I was introduced to SAP.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay, because I hated coding.
Okay.
I cannot do coding.
Yeah.
The only worry I had when I was joining or the work or something, that I should not go to coding because I will not survive. I would have quit, gone back to my native, started doing farming, no problem. But I cannot do coding. So the first moment, if you ask me, the pivotal was to get into SAP.
Yeah.
So initially, when I moved into business objects, it was not even a SAP product. It was the Crystal Report Business Objects. It was a separate company.
Okay.
And then in 2009, it was 8 or 9, it was acquired by SAP.
Yeah.
Then it became SAP BOBI. So until that time, I didn't even know what is SAP and how big is that company. And then when it was acquired by SAP, then I attended the SAP tickets, and then I started understanding, oh, it's a huge company, and a lot. So almost 90% of the entire financial transaction hits SAP some system somewhere in the world, right?
Okay.
And I think because I got a good start, I could sustain. And then over the time, I met a lot of managers, senior people, my architects, directors, who always helped me to grow further and further and further. So that I'll say would be those magical moments.
Okay. So following up would be like what issue you faced like as a member and what how you are trying to help others new member who are just joining and they are facing the same thing. How do you try to help them out? Like are you doing something like that?
You mean when I started my career?
Yeah, when you started your career, you had some issues, right? So
Yes,
you
I
saw.
had issues. I did not know how to write an email. I did not know how to respond.
Okay. Exactly, like you cannot help, like teach you how
Yeah.
to write a mail, but how do you try to help the other members who are and
So I learn from my mistakes, and if a person who joined new and I saw that he is also doing the same mistake, I would, like I have always, gave them advice. Okay, this customer you need to handle like this, and this person you need to handle like this. If you don't follow that, maybe you will get into trouble. So I don't want to impose myself on anyone. I
Yeah.
can only give a direction. If they want to follow, they
Yeah.
can. Because at the end of the day, everybody has to know their own ways of working, right? And you will figure it out.
Yeah.
So if a new person comes into the team, or I remember when I was 1 year in experience, a fresher had come, initial hand holding is very, very important. The
Yeah.
first 3, 4 months, how do you train that person? How do you make that person comfortable with the environment? How does that person interact? Like from college, when you join, and suddenly you have to, your manager might be like 20, 30 year older than you, and but you have to say the name, let's
Yeah.
say Ashish,
Yeah.
right? To just say that because you're just 22
Yeah.
and your manager is, let's say, 40, 45,
Yeah.
just to say Ashish
Yeah.
was tough
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
because we grew up in a environment and the tradition that if
Yeah.
somebody is, senior,
Senior to
we
you
say
as
bhaiya,
sir.
or we say something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's always a respect. Or you say sir.
Yeah.
And then when you come to corporate and if you say sir,
Yeah.
they start, looking like, why are you saying that? You
Yeah.
can call me with my name, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those changes which happen, that has to transition smoothly. So when a fresher comes in and when they start working, I think those few sessions which happens in initial handholding is very, very important for them to understand how a corporate culture works.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow they might have to reach out to anybody in the office
Yeah.
and they should not feel threatened or should not
Yeah.
feel small or less.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
So I think that is what I did.
Yeah. Even the people who give you initial training, you consider start telling them sir, sir, and they don't call me sir, but it's injected in us so much that yeah, we tend to
Correct.
do it
So
often.
our how do I say, our culture
Yeah.
in India, the way we are, brought up,
Yeah.
we respect anybody who, even if he's 1 minute elder than us,
Agreed.
right?
Yeah.
So that's in our blood. But in corporate, you need to, shed a little bit of those inhibitions and start gelling in and start getting into the same vibe as others. It will help all of us.
So let's more talk about more about learning and sharing. So what do you think about learning and sharing in public? Like me, I have met people who think like if I share something on LinkedIn post or something, it's like bragging. Okay, I'm learning this. Look, I'm learning this. What you are doing? But I think it's not like that. It's like it's showing people what I'm doing, and I can just drop out for the opportunities if I don't share that. Okay, I know this as well apart from what I'm doing daily. So what are your calls on learning and sharing in public?
Learning and sharing in public. I think we live in an era which is called the social media era,
Yeah.
right? If I am walking also, I am sharing that on Insta or Facebook or somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed.
So that sharing has started happening at a very, very minimum level. Sharing is happening at a level which doesn't make any sense. If somebody's going to a swimming pool, they're taking a picture or a video of a pool and just sharing it on the social media.
Yeah.
Now, if we are doing such mundane activity and sharing and making money, because people have followers, people have XYZ, and then they endorse products, and they do mundane activities, which makes no sense,
Yeah.
adds no value.
Yeah.
I think then knowledge has to be at a very, very high level
Yeah.
than that. And it has to be shared. It cannot be contained. It cannot stay with one person because that's the only thing which we have, which we can share. And when we share knowledge, we gain more knowledge. I've never heard anybody saying if you share, you will lose it. When you share, you gain. That's my philosophy. And I believe that sharing is very important. If somebody comes to me and says that I want to learn this, if I have time, I will definitely do that because that is easy for me. It is a brush up for me. I will also learn something new. So whether it is happening on a personal level or whether it is happening on a social level,
Yeah.
I think it is important that we start sharing.
I completely agree with this. Like, I'm also a big supporter of learning and sharing in public.
Correct.
So, yeah. So, even when we talk about sharing and issues we face, when you have been into programming world or you have been working with, programming or something, the Stack Overflow was a big plus at that point of time. Similarly, in SAP world, we have SAP Community Network, the SCN network we
Correct.
have.
Correct.
So how can a fresher they get the most out of it and how it works? Like
First
how
of
to share
all,
it and how to get your answers what you're trying to get.
I think the SAP community, the SCN page,
Yeah.
it has a lot of information, right? And it has enough information for you to even build a SAP system from scratch
Yeah. I agree.
and fix any big problem in the world. It has that information.
Yeah.
So first of all, you should tap into it. If you are part of any of the SAP modules, you should pick up or find out those, you know, people who are already actively participating and have a one-on-one conversation with them. You will be surprised that they will reply to your message, they will reply to your,
Yeah.
and you'll be surprised that such a senior guy is replying to your whatever query you're
Yeah.
asking,
Yeah.
because they are there to help you out.
Yeah.
Correct. Whenever they get time, they come online, they go to the community page, they see if people are struggling, and they will reply. So the first point is for you to understand how that entire community is designed. Second, pick up the people who are relevant, right? And in the community, you will find people who are really seniors,
Yeah.
and they have written blogs, they have patents on their name, whatever. So they're really established
Yeah.
people. Start following them,
Yeah.
start following their blogs if they have,
Yeah.
start interacting with them in the blog itself, start having a one-on-one conversation, and you can really benefit from there if you are really keen to learn from the community, because that community is very powerful,
Yeah.
very
Yeah, yeah, agreed. I have also seen people replying to my messages, even though I don't have that much of blogs and all. They just reply, okay, hey, okay, I'm facing this issue, and they just reply back whenever they get time. So that's
yeah.
great. The community is really strong when we say at SCM. So, as you said that you hated coding, and
Yeah.
then the BOBI was a blessing in disguise for you. Like,
Yes, I agree.
so what are the unique selling point of you? We know the unique selling point is programming. If you don't don't want to do programming, you can come to Mobile. What are the different interests that people should have to join Mobile as a module?
See, BOBI, you can join as admin.
Yeah.
You can also work on the tool as a developer,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can also work on a tool as a designer. Okay. Now let's start with designer and developer. If you're working from the designer point of view, you're already connecting to the data warehouse and the data side, and now the data is big. Meaning, if you understand data, if you know what is big data, if you're doing any data analytics, you're already up in front of everybody else, right? Then let's come to developer. Now, developer is agnostic, meaning you can develop from any tool. It doesn't have to be from SAP BOBI, it can be from Power BI, it can be a Tableau design, it can be anything, right? If you're a developer, you know how to develop, you know how to understand the query, you know how to design, you know how to create the graphs, the gauges, everything. You can pick up any product, and it doesn't matter which product you're using, you can design. Then it's the admin side. Now, admin side is where SAP BO has pretty much merged with the basis. All right. So if you're a BO admin, eventually you can also learn the basis side of it. Or if you're a basis admin, you can also learn the BO side of it, which increases your entire scope of work. So not only you're managing a BO system, you can also start managing a basis system. You can become a HANA expert. You can become a solution manager expert. You can work on multiple other applications and manage that systems, right? So if you're looking at moving into an admin side, the avenues will open up. Same with the designer and same with the developer. Your starting point can be SAP, PO, or BI, but the end point can be anywhere as you go and want. You will understand data at a granular level. You will understand designing. You will understand the system performances. You will understand the OS performances. So many things you can understand in between.
So that was all I wanted to know, like who should be into this module and who should be just stay away from it. So yeah, exactly. The basis guide also run. I have seen many people switching from basis to their complete role as OBI specialist and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So the last thing I would like to ask is how to stand out in your role, like whatever role you have, apart from you admin as well, how to stand out because you have been in corporate for so long and you know exactly what managers look for, what the seniors are looking for. So
Mhm.
what should be done differently here?
I think there are many things, but the first thing is communication. Okay. if you can communicate well, both internally as well as external customers, you get noticed. People will know that there is a person like you who can manage things. That's the first point. Second thing is you have to be a team player. You cannot be the hero of the entire movie here because you cannot manage everything. Like if I'm working today, I need to be very well connected with the operating system team, very well connected with the database team, very well connected with the security team, very well connected with the BO team, very well connected with the basis team, as well as very well connected with the external non-SAP teams also. So if I'm not a team player, I want to play alone, I want to do everything alone, it will not work out. That's the second. Third is you need to add value, right? If you're given X and you're delivering X, you're just meeting expectation. See, it is not the time which you're getting paid for in a company, right? You also give 9 hours, I also get 9 hours, right? But it is the value which we bring in along with us. Initially, your time is more, value is less. But as you start growing, if your value is also less, it will be difficult for you to survive. So when you come into a company, when you come into a new organization, a new project, don't just look at the time which you're giving it to the project. Look at the value which you're adding. Value can be from anywhere. It can be from the people side, it can be from the technology side, it can be from the collaboration side, it can be from the ideas. So if you manage these three, four things smoothly, I do not see you being stopped by anybody or your growth being stagnant. Just follow these four, five, because I don't complicate things. I don't want anyone to, I don't want to complicate anybody's journey. Keep it very simple, keep it as smooth as you can, and try to avoid any conflicts with anyone. Keep your ego aside, and just because you are getting paid for some work, somebody else is also getting paid for the same work. So there's no point in getting your ego in between and start a conflict. Rather, stay away from all the conflicts and keep adding value.
So just to add one point, like what adding values means. Like if you are asked to deliver X, how can you like can you just give an example how to do
So
that?
there's something called as customer delight.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's say my customer has asked me to give him all the data for a certain system. That's the request which has come in. Okay. Now he's only expecting the data for a certain system. That's all. Now I go ahead, I build the entire data system wise, and I also segregate the entire data weekly, daily, monthly, and I also add some strike there where I see any abnormal data for past 1 year.
Okay.
So I'm not just giving a raw data for him to go and figure it out. I have given him the data, I have arranged it in a right way. I have also analyzed the data in it and I have pointed out what is different. He didn't ask that. I'm giving him the same data, but I spend another 5-10 minutes extra just to divide the data in a different format and share it with him. Now, when he sees the data, he is expecting that I will send him a raw data for the entire year.
Yeah.
But I have sorted it out for week wise, month wise, and I've also put a special color for some data which were abnormal. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So now what you're doing, you're adding value to the data which you have given. That's all.
Only a small step, but can be perfect.
Can. So it was a very, very simple example,
Yeah.
but easy to understand. So if you are adding such things, plus let's say I'm a BOBI guy,
Yeah.
right? And I am working on a BO project, and there's another project where somebody else is stuck, right? Now you are not paid for the other project. You not have anything to do with the other project, but you have extended yourself,
Yeah.
and you're going and helping the other person in the other project, and that issue gets solved because you also helped them. That's adding the value which is outside your purview, right? Then let's say you're part of an organization and your leadership team is expecting something. They're expecting an automation to be delivered for one or two things,
Yeah.
right? You put your team together and you send 5 automations, you send 6 automations. not for just your team, but you're sharing it for the entire organization,
Okay.
so adding more value. And so
Understood.
those are some simple examples.
Thanks a lot. Like this was all from my end, and this
Okay.
was such a wonderful session. Like we had, I like many perspective of mine was also clear when I was discussing with you, and it was like I am also a new one, so I just want to grab from experience you have, and so it's a wonderful session we have. I think everyone else
Yeah.
can also get something out of it.
Yes, I guess so. I really hope people learn something out of it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I just stopped it.